Hi everyone, this is Michael Condon representing the TooMedToo's Star Wars Network. We've got your fix, and this is the Bacta tank. I want to start off by thanking Heidi Fetter. She is our newest patron on our Patreon page. If you want to go help support the network, go to patreon.com/TooMed2, and you can join the likes of Heidi, like I just said, the newest one, our newest member, and we also have Rural Farm Boy, Chris from Kentucky, Mr. Rez, Kylo Customs, and Kylo Flores. You can check us out every Monday on the 2 Star Wars Network for our Bacta tank, and then there's 20 other shows during the month that sometimes come out, and every Monday we have this going on podcasts that you can find on Anchor, Spotify, and Podbean. Right now, the podcasts are a little bit behind because I'm just working with a cell phone and a 4 gig notebook while the real computer's in the shop. So those podcasts are going to be a little bit behind, but there's still content coming out almost every day for you. And with that, our featured guest, we have Sal from Rogue Rebels.
Hello.
Hi, Sal. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I am doing all right. What's the for us? There's some people commenting that it's hot in New York, and we were at I think 95 today. You're in California, correct?
Yeah. We're like Orange County, so it's pretty hot today. Today and yesterday was like, we're a frugal family, so we'll be like, we have a family meeting when it's like, are we gonna turn on the air? Who's hurting? Who needs it? Who needs it? 3 out of 4 members? All right, air goes on. Today's one of those days.
Yeah, we have it set up so my electric bill is pretty much the same all year long. They kind of average it out, so I pay the same in the winter when I'm not running the AC as I am in the summertime when I'm running the AC. So kind of run it so we're comfortable. And
Right.
it also hurts. I'm on the 3rd floor in a New York City apartment, so all the heat comes up to my floor. In the wintertime, it's great because I have to have the windows open because it gets so hot, even with the radiators closed.
Yeah.
But in the summertime, it's 120 degrees in my apartment if it's 95 outside, so the air is always running.
Yeah, that's tough. I'm from Texas, so I kind of know what that's like.
Yeah, and we have the humidity here in New York too, so it's we're not going to get in a debate over dry heat versus humid or whatever. 100 degrees is still 100 degrees. Just depends on what you're ready for. But yeah, I lived in Dallas for a summer, and it's not. And I've been to Phoenix a couple times in the summertime, and it's not really that bad because you just go from air conditioning to air conditioning. It's that couple minutes or that couple seconds in between going from the car to inside wherever you're going to be.
It's like that airlock travel.
Yeah. So, all right, I've been following you for a few years now, and you have a podcast, Rogue Rebels.
Yes.
Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
We have the Rogue Rebels podcast, and basically the Rogue Rebels is my family. Like, we just started we do costuming. And back in the day, like, we were all we would go and do like a lot of charity and stuff with it and stuff, and we still do like sometimes, but now the kids are older, and my wife works a lot, and so like now it's like 1 or 2 of us get to make an event, and now there's no events right now. But so it's like we just sort of with the kids, we wanted to start our own little thing, so the kids could have like trading cards and stuff, because that's like just a cool little thing. So we started calling ourselves the Rogue Rebels, because we would dress up as Star Wars rebels. And that's like the I do Kanan, and my son does Ezra, and the daughter does Sabine, and my wife does Hera. And we had a lot of fun with that, and we started doing going to like trying to do a lot of the like Star Wars events where like you get to, hey, there's going to be like a Rebel screening, and they would be like, hey, your family can come, and we would be like, this is awesomest thing in the world. All I did is make a costume in a garage one time, and now I get to go to see the season premiere or the season whatever for Rebels. And now we pretty much do podcasting about everything Star Wars. It's not just cartoons or movies or whatever. We really like, I read the books and I read the comics. And even when my family doesn't do all of that, I'll find a lot of buddies since I've been in the podcasting game for a little while too. So I'll call up some buddies and be like, hey, who read the newest comic and dug it? Let's get into that. Hey, who wants to talk whatever new book came out,
Yeah, we you and I actually kind of run in the same circles. We've just never personally met or really, we've interacted on Twitter a little bit here and there, but we've never sat down and talked like this. So, that's where I get a lot of my. I read the books. I use the audiobooks, so I don't get them done as fast as people like King Tom, who get them done that day. But I can usually get the audiobooks done in one day. That's the great thing about being in New York City. If it's a 10 or 12 hour book, I get up early in the morning and pump out a couple hours, and then just walking the dog and traveling on the subway or around. You get a couple more hours done. So it's usually I put up my podcast list for the day, or really drop it down. But now this last book that came out, I don't know what happened to me. It took me like 5 or 6 days to get through it, and
I'm still not done with Shadowfall. So I'm still like, it takes me. I can usually get it done in a week, but right now, like, I'm not driving. The only place I go is the grocery store right now. So like, that's not like driving used to be part of my. And now that the kids are home, like, I used to just blast the audiobook while I'm cleaning up or doing dishes or whatever I'm doing around the house. And now that the kids are home, they're watching TV and I can't hear it. So it's like, I put on my headphones when I vacuum, and that's like my podcast. My audiobook listening time is like severely diminished.
Yeah, I completely understand that because, you see me when I post, my daily podcast, and it's usually 6 or 8 or 10 of them. A slow one's 3 or 4, like the last couple of days. And now my girlfriend's not home. She went to Baltimore for a couple of days. Mm-hmm. So I get to watch whatever I want to on TV. So I'm not listening to as many podcasts. So it's just when I'm walking the dog or, cooking or whatever I'm doing. Yeah. So, that list is down to 3 or 4 instead of, 10 or 12 or whatever. Because a lot of times I'll just sit there and she's watching, whatever horrible TV it is, which I kind of watch a little bit too, but I don't need to pay that much attention. So I'll have, the podcast, and when she's watching Vanderpump Rules or whatever the hell she's watching, I don't even know reality TV shows. I know what they are when they're on TV, but I don't know what the names of them are.
Right.
So, I'll be doing stuff on the computer and listening to podcasts. But now that she's not here, it's like I've been binging Hannibal. So, I've been pretty lax on that the last couple of days. But so now you're pretty well known. I say in the Star Wars community from the people that I know. How did you get started with Star Wars? Did you grow up with Star Wars, or did it come to you later on in life?
I mean, I'm like 81, so I'm of the Star Wars generation that, like, I don't even remember from my first Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, I always had the kids growing up. I always had the toys growing up, and I always had the movies, taped off of an HBO feature presentation that my dad taped for me. So that's what I would watch every day, and I would play with the toys, and I draw pictures, and that's what I was about. And I, once I got older, and like, the big thing was in like 91 when they were like, hey, they're making a Star Wars comic book and a Star Wars book. And I loved to read when I was younger, so I was like, I'm all about this. And I think I didn't even get in the books until they came out in softcover, because I never had the hardcover Heir to the Empire. But I got into the comics a lot. I liked Dark Empire, and I really liked Tales of the Jedi and stuff like that. And then by the time the movies came back, I was already in the the expanded universe or the Legends or whatever you want to call it. And I really kept up with that stuff. And even now, like, everything that comes out that's not movies, I just enjoy a lot of the stories. And I like the fact that I really like not focusing on the same. Like, I love Han, Luke, and Leia, and I love that story. But I like that these are like a bunch of pilots. And hey, this is just a story about some bounty hunters. And hey, this is just about a smuggle guy. Like, I like stories that aren't just about the same, because then you find yourself in this place. It's like, well, Han and Leia went on vacation, and now the kids got a kid. Like, how many stories can you tell again and again and again about the same, So I'm glad that there's so much now that really, like, fills in that gap.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same as you. I was 78, and grew up. There was always Star Wars. But I have an older brother that's 8 years older than me, so he had the toys. I come from a big Irish Catholic family, so it's there's 40 or 50 first cousins just on my mom's side, and it's like there's like I'm the youngest of the older ones, and then there's probably like a 4 or 5 year gap below me or couple whatever. But so I have all my older cousins were into Star Wars too because they're 3 or 4 or 5, 6 years older than me. So I always had the toys whether they were mine or we lived around down the street from each other and around the block and everything. So it was just even if they weren't my toys, somebody had it. So it was always that and HBO came out or was big in the early mid 90s or 80s and we had everything marked on on VHS tapes and stacks of them all over. So I never really got into the EU because I didn't like reading. Like I didn't even like comic books for anything. It was cartoons. So I was either watching Star Wars movies or cartoons. So that's where I kind of went. It was like my thing growing up was Star Wars movies, and then whatever it was GI Joe, Transformers, Ninja Turtles, Voltron, like all that good early 80s cartoons. But even when I was a teenager, when people needed to get me a gift, it was always something Star Wars. So that was always there. And I was at that age then when the prequels came out. I was kind of like your two guys, Quinlan and Kanan. I wasn't too worried about the Jedis. I was out partying and chasing women and doing that thing. So Star Wars is always there, but I didn't really worry about the ancillary material. And then it was more recently where in the last 5-6 years, well, it's pretty much since Disney took over, we started getting a lot new content. I'm all into that. And I brought up your two guys, two people that you normally cosplay or do your costumes. Now, do you call it cosplay or do you call it costuming? And what's the difference?
I used to be like, well, it's a costumer because I'm not playing but it doesn't matter. Like people want to put a word to whatever you want. It doesn't like all I'm doing is having fun, making making smiles, like sharing. I started saying a couple of years ago, it's like it's not about there's no reason to pick and choose. It's just sharing your love of something. You know what I mean? So I try to really not I call it costuming, but either it's not, it doesn't matter. You can call it whatever you want. It's literally just me, a grown man dressing up in a costume and waving around a plastic sword.
Yeah, because that's what I had in the thumbnail for this. I had you as Quinlan Voss and as Kanan because those are the two that I know that you normally do. And you're pretty well known and as the Star Wars Kanan and Quinlan Voss guy, as far as I know. I don't I mean, I know there's a lot of people that dress up and do costuming or cosplay, but I think you're like the number one person out there when someone says, "Hey, I saw Quinlan Voss," or "Hey, I saw Kanan."
When I kind of started doing Voss because that was my first. Voss was a Halloween costume until I found out oh, there's clubs that do charity stuff. This is really cool. Oh, I have to upgrade it from a really thick brown leather belt to a actual Jedi belt. Because you have to. So once I found once I got leveled up my Quinlan Voss and learned how to make armor and make belt pieces and stuff like that. That was what we were doing. It was, and actually my wife did Ayla, so we were Voss and Ayla all the time, which was super super cool. But Voss in particular isn't a very, he's not a super super pop. He's kind of a side character. So walking around wherever there's you'll get the one guy at the con that's "Hey, Voss," and you go, "All right, that guy, yes, that is who I am."
Yeah, because he's really only in a couple episodes of Clone Wars. And then
before that, the version that I did was basically he had a couple of comic series, or he was in Star Wars Republic, a few issues, a few arcs. He had a long running story, which was pretty cool. But then once you rolled over into canon, he showed up in an episode of Clone Wars, and then you're oh, he's gonna be canon. and then he showed up like a couple of times in the background of like 2 more episodes, and then we got Dark Disciple, which like supposedly was supposed to be more episodes. I actually have a really cool story. We were the first time that I ever went to Lucasfilm was, I guess it was 2014 or 2015, and it was when like Clone Wars went to Netflix, and they finished the Lost Missions, and they're like, look, we're going to finish everything off, and this is really cool. And they sent the club, the Saber Guild, an invite, and they were like, can you guys come up to San Francisco for a screening? And we were like, oh my God, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. Like, how can we not do this? So we went, me and my wife, and like, back in those days, there was literally like a theater. You sit down, they show the episodes, and then there's like a Q&A. And like, you know, they're talking to Filoni about like, well, so why did you call it Moraband and not Korriban? And he's like, you know, look, I wrote it as Korriban, but George didn't like that it sounded too much like Coruscant, Korriban, Coruscant, so we changed it to Moraband. But you know, whatever, maybe it's the same thing and it's a different planet, and or maybe it's just like, you know, they changed the name over the thousands of years. And Leland Chee's like, yeah, I'll go with that. And he would hang out, like the thing would end, and then like everybody would kind of mill around and like ask questions, and like Whitwer was there, and so people are talking, you know, like it was a cool kind of thing. Like nowadays, if you go to those things, Filoni does the Q&A, and then they like rush him out the side door. Like that's it, you know. But I was kind of like just talking to him a little bit, and then he's like walking away, and he's like leaving, and he turns around and he's like, because we went dressed up, so we went as Voss and Hela. And then he turns around and he's like, there would have been a lot more Voss episodes, you know, just letting you know that. And then he like left, and I was like, well, that sounds amazingly awesome. And then like that summer they announced Dark Disciple, and I was like, well, cool, I'll get it either way. You know?
And you know, that's the whole thing too. We're told that, you know, this last season was the end of Clone Wars, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to get more Clone Wars that happened in between. So the Clone Wars is over. We know the end of the story, but there's still a lot of stories that take place in those couple of years during the Clone Wars that, you know, they could pump out cartoons for years and still have episodes and arcs left over that, you know, we don't even know about, or give us more, you know, the Quinlan Voss is a very, very, you know, a niche character. Like you were saying, he's in a couple books. You know, he's in a couple comic books, 1 or 2 episodes of the Clone Wars, and you know, that's pretty much it. But you know, we could get a whole other arc for him, or something that happened when he was off on his trials. You know, just the same as, you know, I don't know about Kanan too much, how they're going to be able to work Kanan, because they kind of you know, put him to the end there with the rumors that we have of more rebels coming out, and everything that Corey and Noah have been bringing us from Kessel Run transmissions about the cartoons that we have coming out, and you know, it's ever evolving with what their information they're getting. But I don't really think there's going to be too much Kanan. But Quinlan Voss, they could definitely do another arc or 2.
Yeah,
you know.
I mean, even like the really cool thing about Star Wars is it has never been, or I guess like in another way you could say, it's like it's never respected like consecutive chronology. Like even the whole story was told out of order. So like, who's to say they don't just come out with more Kanan comic books? Like they had a Kanan run of comic books that was like Padawan Kanan or whatever. So even when a character dies, like you can still have really cool stories with him. Like even take like Maul died 2 or 3 years ago in Rebels, and we just got like a really dope season of him in Clone Wars. You know what I mean? So like you're right. Like those, even though those stories are like complete or ended in a weird way, you can still jump around and tell whatever you want. And I would really like for or I don't know, like when I thought about when they were like Clone Wars is saved, we're gonna come back for like a final whatever, I was kind of thinking like, well, you know, if it was up to me, like I would kind of focus on the characters who are like the way I said it was bigger than Clone Wars. You know what I mean? Like, so characters that like sort of like live beyond that scope. Like, so I would count like Ahsoka and Rex because they've sort of grown beyond what the Clone Wars is. And even characters like Ventress, but we already got her story, like that's Dark Disciple. But I would say like the big one that I'm missing is that Boba Fett arc. because that's a character that like we know goes on to other things and like big things, and he still has a part in this couple of years, like a really big part of his story. In fact, most of the good parts of Boba Fett's story like take place in the Clone Wars. Like it's a really cool story about a like lost orphan, like trying to find his way in the most gangster galaxy ever.
And he's running bounty hunters that are professional bounty hunters, and he's just a kid going off, the reputation on, who he was brought up by, and what he's done, because even though he's 13 years old, he's a ruthless killer. I mean, they kind of show his vulnerability in the Clone Wars, and he's really not, but he's on his way of becoming one. So that's why he's the one running the show, even though there's still a little bit discrepancy on who really is, but it pretty much is him.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. But it's like one of those things of like we know he's running with he's trained by his father, who is like the best bounty hunter in the world or galaxy, since they made clones of him. He was so good they made 1 million clones with a million more on the way, and all of that. And like he's basically a clone of that guy who also taught him everything. And then he's running with the guys that were his father's friends, who are also like teaching him how to be better. Like Aura Singh's teaching him how to be ruthless. And like he's running with Bosk and C-21 High Singer and Embo and like whoever on the Crate's Claw on Tatooine, and like starting his own gang. It's really, really, it's just a really cool story that I really want to see the rest of, because it's like Boba Fett and Cad Bane on a weird mission to Tatooine together, and like we don't know what happens, but something about the dent in his head, and they have a shoot off, and like it's really cool. Like that's a story that I really want.
Oh, and Gilster37, he says with a super chat, he says, "Damn right, Boba." So thank you, Gilster, for that. So all right. So here's the question: Boba Fett, is he a Mandalorian?
No. As far as I know, as far everything stated in canon is no. But now that we know that Mandalorian is a creed, there's no reason he can't become one. Or we can't find out a story about how he became one at one time. All we know is he has Mandalorian armor, and what's his name? Prime Minister Almec doesn't like that and thinks his dad has I don't have any idea where he got that armor. He's just a common bounty hunter.
Well, that's where people say he's not a Mandalorian from that one little sentence.
Right.
But is it one of those things where it's just like, we're denouncing him because we don't like him, even though he is, we're going to say he's not because he's dishonored us. But, that's where it comes into the fun speculation and, being able to have a reasonable discussion about it. Because if you go to episode 2, the visual dictionary says that Jango Fett's parents were killed by pirates, and he was raised by Mandalorian parents. His adoptive parents were Mandalorian. So if Jango Fett was raised Mandalorian by Mandalorian parents, what we know of the creed now, he would be technically like a Mandalorian or, adopted Mandalorian, which would make his son, if he was raised the same way, a Mandalorian. So that's where now that, I like to bring this up because you have now with the new creed, it's not really, doesn't matter what species you are, anybody can be a Mandalorian. And we know that Boba Fett didn't have the armor, he just had the Durasteel. So, but that's not really, nobody had the armor then because the Empire took everything. But I mean, it's one of those things to speculate. It's like, well, I mean, we were told that he wasn't, but that story kind of changed with the visual dictionaries between episodes 2 and 3, and then in between then when Disney took over. And so then, I mean, you just kind of have to figure.
You can kind of speculate around it, and then you can kind of go well, Almec is a shady dude anyway, right? So I don't have to trust everything he says. But also I guess the capstone for me is Lucas was he's not a Mandalorian to Filoni. And so that's the real capstone. But the whole creed thing, that's been around forever. And what the episode 2 guide is referencing is a comic book back in the day called Open Seasons, where it tells the story of young Jango living on a farm, and his parents get killed by Death Watch, and the protectors come and save him, and they raise him, and he becomes a journeyman protector, which is the ode. They sort of because everything was really messy back in the day, they would write these stories, and then George would come out with a movie and they'd be like, oh crap. Like, so one of the original stories was the mysterious Boba Fett was a journeyman protector of the Mandalorians, and like his name was Jaster Muriel and all this. And then when episode 2 came out, they were like, well, no. He told people that, but his father was trained by Jaster Muriel and was a journey, like, so they sort of like what's the word? You know the word. Retconned it to like that's the story that he told people, but it was really his father's story and about whatever. You know, and like now with the new story groups or what, like now with the cohesiveness of the storytelling, you kind of don't get that as much. There's a really cool book called Scum and Villainy. I don't know if you've had that one yet. And it talks about how like you go through it and it's basically like Republic era police force, like this dude that was like an inspector on Republic era, and then his daughter, I think, is an ISB agent during the Imperial times, and then her son is a new Republic security guy. So it's like 3 generations of like police. So the father talks about how like, man, they arrested this kid and he like blew up a thing, and they were trying to like, it's a really like weird Star Wars legal argument, but they were trying not to like prosecute him because he was a minor. And then also, he's a clone. So they were saying like, well, clones are property. They don't have rights. And it goes back to that like Clone Wars kind of like, I don't know if you remember, there's a whole like the Order 66 thread. They get into like who owns the clones and are they people or are they property? To where the courts of Coruscant, when they came to prosecute Boba Fett for blowing up, for trying to kill Windu, they were like, no, he's property and he gets the full sentence because this is a wartime crime. And like, they didn't want to like give him rights at all. But so they just gave him the maximum sentence. And then eventually he escaped and blah, 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 blah. And then you see him saying like, hey, I'm hearing that kid is now on Tatooine, like, you know, running the show. It looks familiar. It's got to be him because he escaped a few months ago or last year or whatever. And then the daughter writes like, hey, I was reading your things and there's this Mandalorian that works for us now and it's him and he's all grown up. But I love the story about that because it also talks about his armor. So it goes over Boba Fett's armor. It's like Mandalorian armor is the best, and this is like the good stuff. But ever since Boba Fett became the best, and he's got such a reputation, we're seeing a lot of bounty hunters just get killed because they're wearing fake Mandalorian armor and they're rocking around like they're good stuff, and they just get shot, and their stuff is weak, and it's not Boba. That was kind of, to me, there was a legend story about a guy named Jodo Cast who was pretending to be Boba Fett, and he had like a copy of the armor. So I thought that was really cool. But, you know, whether like we know Boba Fett has real Mandalorian armor. We just don't know if he follows the creed or if he has any connections with real Mandalorians other than finding his father's stuff and being like, that's my look too.
Somebody just said in the chat that Toro Calican might be his father. So that would make Steel Saunders happy.
Yeah, Toro Calican found the world between worlds. Yep. You know, shows
went back and now everything. He's in charge of everything. He was really the father on Mortis. Maybe that's what it comes out to be.
There you go. Perfect.
Now I'm gonna jump around here because I don't really do show notes and everything. I just kind of have it in my mind. Now you don't just have, or your whole family does the costuming, but there's not just the one podcast in the family, right?
My daughter has another podcast. It's called Star Wars Geek Girl, and it's her and another Sabine costumer, with a 501st dad from like Pennsylvania. So like we always talked about, it's like the East Coast and the West Coast Sabines have a podcast. And they've been doing it for like, it's got to be like 5 years. Like they've been doing it since Lizzie was 14 or 13. So it's been a long time coming, and it's like they're like really good friends now, and their family sends us like really adorable gifts that make me hate them because they're so incredibly creative. And they're like, hey, we went and bought like a stuffed wolf and we sewed it and made it a Loth wolf, and now like hey, just thinking about you guys, happy like Christmas, this is like a little Loth wolf we made, and like it's just a really cool, we just took a wolf and like sewed it up and made it all cool. And I'm like, okay, that took like time, and now I have to think of something to get you guys for Christmas, and I feel horrible.
Yeah, 'cause I was actually listening to that podcast before I was listening to Rogue Rebels. Well, it was around before Rogue Rebels, so I mean that would kind of make sense on that part. But and then now you also have like Rogue Rebels. You have your own costuming that you do and going around for like charity, separate than some of the other bigger ones.
I mean, we're part of the clubs. Like we started with Saber Guild, and then like I'm also in Rebel Legion. Not my daughter. My wife is in Mando Mercs because she got Sabine approved back in the day, and like we're also in the 501st, but I haven't trooped in a while. But it's like I guess the real thing is what happens is like a lot of these clubs, like you have to be 18 and over, so like you can't have kids. And the whole point of us wanting to do it is we wanted to do it as a family and have fun. So we started the Rogue Rebels because a lot of the contacts that would come to us for things would want the Rebels characters, and like at the time, like there's like an approval process that you go through, and when characters are new, you have to wait to like you got to get all the stuff together before you get them approved, and it takes a while sometimes, and like it's probably faster now, but back in the day, nobody had made like nobody was making these costumes before the cartoon came out. So we would go like, okay, like we want to do some charity events. And they'd be like, well, the cartoon hasn't come out. We really need to see what they're like. Well, I saw the episodes, but I don't know what to tell you. Like, here's a commercial. Like, does that count? Well, we need to wait till the episodes are done. So it was sort of like a runaround thing for a long time, into where the people would just come to us, and we had a lot of contacts at places like Make a Wish or local libraries or things like that. And they would be like, can you guys come as the Rebels? We'd be like, okay, I won't come as Saber Guild. We will come as the Rogue Rebels, and then we can bring the kids, and then like the club doesn't have to be involved with it, but usually like there's other stuff as well. So that's really where all that started. It was just because it was just to get the kids involved, so we could do things as a family.
Yeah, because
It's
I
like
mean I mean that's what it's really all about. If you're doing it as a family, and then only you and your wife can go and leave the kids at home with the babysitter while you go do it, it's like, well, that's kind of defeating the purpose of what you're doing.
right. And it was just, yeah, it was really, really cool. And like some of them, I'm like, like with Saber Guild is really good about being like, hey, like we're doing this thing, and you can, hey, I'm gonna bring my kids. They have Ezra and Sue. Is that cool? All right, cool. But like, depending on the club and depending on the rules in the club, like with the 501st and Rebel Legion, minors are not even considered. You can't even be like, hey, can my kid come? Like that's just, and Mercs are a little more open ended. Like, so I guess it's also the smaller clubs in a weird way. But I think it's just because in Saber Guild, like not only are we smaller, but we have to practice. So there's like a little more of a cohesion. Like it's not like I just joined a forum and I just said, yes, I'll go this day, and then I see everybody there. We literally have weekly practices, obviously not now, but we have weekly practices so we can be ready because we're doing fighting and choreography at an event, at a show. So it's a lot easier for me to be like, okay, we got this thing Friday, boom, 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 who's coming? I'm gonna go ahead and bring the kids just so we have some Rebels for a picture, and cool. So it's it just always depends. And then it also depends on the venue, you're going to. It's a lot easier to bring kids to like a library than like, I don't know, like a Hollywood parade or something, and they're taking heads and they need parking tickets, like, and it's like a whole thing. So it always depends, but generally we always sign up together. Like I said, a lot less often nowadays because now Lizzie's got her work over here, and Axel's got something with Boy Scouts, and my wife is working, so there's always like, it's so much now that everybody has a life and has grown older. It's no longer just like, hey, pack up kids, we're going to go be rebels today. Now everybody has responsibilities in real life. It's crazy.
Somebody asked a question. I'm not sure what the question is. It says, do you know how Django met Dooku and how much he was getting? I'm not sure what the question was.
The Legends answer is, if you play that game Bounty Hunter, the game is literally about how he met Dooku. Okay. And then the canon answer so far, the only thing we have is like, I want to say it was that it was those Age of Republic comics, if I'm not mistaken. And there was like a Django one, and I think there was a little piece about how they made the deal, but it didn't say how much, it didn't say anything other than like how they were there doing the deal. So canonically, we do not have an answer for that, as far as I know. Feel free to bring up any comic I've missed.
Well, that also gets into, we don't really know who got the clone army going. Was it Sifo Dyas, or was it Dooku pretending he was Sifo Dyas, or was it Palpatine? Because Sifo Dyas, I believe, he died. His ship crashed, and at some time around when all this was happening. So I don't think they give us a definitive answer, but I think his ship crashed, and they pretended he was still alive and pretended they were him, and got all this done under the pretense that they were Sifo Dyas, even though he was dead. But the Jedi didn't know that yet. So it's still, we need an answer on that one.
So I think like we've got a little more light on that if you've done Dooku Jedi Lost.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one more. What is it? There's another Dooku story. I don't think it was Master and Apprentice, but I'm pretty sure there's a lot, especially with Dooku Jedi Lost, has a lot about Sifo Dyas. And I think, if I remember correctly, I might be wrong, but there's a part where Sifo Dyas is like, it's like a recording, and he's like, "This is why I did it. Like, this is why I like." So Sifo Dyas, it has a little bit more about, he's like, he has visions. So he's like a seer, but he's a seer in a time where the Jedi don't really trust seers, and like they're debilitating visions. Like they really mess him up. So it's like it becomes a point where him and his master, like they go on long missions because she can help him be away from the Jedi Temple, because if the Jedi Masters see what's going down, then they're gonna like, put him in one of the what do you call it? Ooh, are they bringing me treats? Ooh, treats. Did you stop and get me treats, wifey? Mm-hmm. Love you. Oh, the puppy's gone. So now I have Sour Powers. Thank you for that. So yeah, I think what that book, I can't even remember specifics. I know it's not black and white, and I know it doesn't say Sifo Dyas did the Clone Army. Yeah, but it makes me lean a lot more to he actually did it. And it also makes me lean more on the reasons why he did it. Because you get to understand a little more of where the headspace where he's at. And he's like foreseeing the fall of the Republic. And it's almost like he thinks this might be one solution, but it turns into one of those, like Anakin, it's one of those self-defeating prophecies. Self-fulfilling.
Well, that's kind of what I didn't remember what book it was, but I remember it was something along those lines. But it's not a definitive answer. It's kind of another one of those great Star Wars things where we can sit there for hours and talk about it. And, if we knew this was going to be a topic, I could have sat there and pulled through all the books. And that's the one thing I collect is Star Wars books. And I don't have all my books are on audio, but I have about 200 Star Wars books from all different ancillary materials, whether they be art of books or visual dictionaries and just all the extra aliens and whatever they have. Some going back to Legends too. Because that's still important when you don't have a canon answer. You kind of lean on Legends and say, well, this was what Legends said, so we're going to kind of fit this into where we can to canon until they tell us what it's going to be, the canon version.
Right. If it fits, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can always go to that to sort of fill in any gaps that are missing right now,
And then someone had asked, you said practice. That's with the Saber Guild.
Yes.
You practice with the Saber Guild?
Yeah. So Saber Guild is a little bit different than the other charity groups. Like, obviously everybody knows like the 501st and the Rebel Legion and the Mando Mercs. And the real difference in those is the costumes. 501st is all the bad guys, Rebel Legion is all the good guys, and Mando Mercs is all the Mandos. But like, some Mandos are in the 501st, and like now that we have good Mandos, some Mandos are in Rebel Legion. So like, there's some that you can like go across the board and that kind of thing. So with Saber Guild, really our focus is on like lightsaber characters. Do I have dinner now? Okay, like my whole family's like making me look good on YouTube and bringing me food. Well, that's actually gonna make me look bad on YouTube, but okay. Thank you, Lizzie.
Oh, you
So
got a gourmet dinner right there coming.
this is good stuff, dude. I'm gonna record more during dinner time. I get served.
That's good.
So like Saber Guild, just like the other charity groups, we do events and we go and we do like kids' libraries or hospitals or whatever it is. But Saber Guild puts on performances. So our thing is we do lightsaber characters or we do generic Jedi and Sith, and then we turn it into a show. You know, so and we have a lot of different shows for a lot of different things. Like I try to really make up a show for every and in our temple we don't really have a lot of face characters. We call it face characters, like the ones like that are actual like in movies, that are not like I made up my own Jedi, or I made up my own Sith. We call those ones are like generic, and then there's face characters. So if you have a show with a face character, like I couldn't be Kanan and the whole show is like, let us go to the temple, because like when Kanan's around there is no temple anymore. So we sort of like make different shows for different time periods. So we have like rebellion shows, and you can pop a Kanan in there and it kind of works, even though there's probably not a chance that Kanan was running around with like 12 secret Jedi. But if I want to like go to a library and I have a Kanan, I can have the Jedi come out and like fight the Inquisitors, and it's kind of cool, And if I'm not there, we can switch it out for a Luke, because that works too. And then we have like more sequel era where like Kylo's people are looking for Luke or the Resistance or whatever it is, and Rey comes out and saves the day, or whatever, like Luke's teachings or things like that. Or we have like just classic shows that are like, hey, these are Jedi, this is a Padawan, they're going on a trial, and oh no, the Sith are here. So like we have a lot of cool like little, we always try to like work it, and it's always like super fun because just you're running around swinging lightsabers, dude. Like it can't get. And if you were a 5-year-old, that would be the coolest thing you ever saw in your life to that point, probably. I know it would be if I was 5.
And your shows, when you do the practice or little routines, or I don't know, call them routines, I don't know what you call them, they're probably pretty good because you have a martial arts background, right?
I've done martial arts, yeah, for a long time. Like, in fact, I think it all goes back to Return of the Jedi, when Luke got good at lightsaber fighting. I was like, well, I need to learn how to do this. Like, this dude is doing backflips up the Death Star, so we need to start training now so we can be awesome by then. And then my dad, of course, was watching a lot of Bruce Lee and Chuck Norris. So I got really interested in martial arts at a young age, and I really like stuck with it and carried it on. So I have a lot of experience. And then like moving out here, I did a lot of stunt stuff and like that. So it's almost like I was into Star Wars. I like stunts. I like music. So like all that stuff was like, hey, we're a group and we build shows. So we use a lot of Star Wars music and mix it together and make a soundtrack. And then we fight. And I was like, I know all of those things and I can do it. This is perfect. So I, when I show people, like usually like I'm leading training at the practices, and I really like hone in on basics, because whether you've had a lot of martial arts experience and you can do 17 backflips, or you've never held a lightsaber in your life, like basic stances, basic footwork, basic swings, targeting, all that stuff is like what you need to learn to look good. Like that's, as long as you can come and do basics and swing stuff around, every 5-year-old is going to believe it,
And that's what it's all about, really, is the kids, because it doesn't matter how good you are. There's going to be adults there that are going to have a problem with your black backflip is only a 9 out of 10. It would have been better if what I asked. So as long as the kids like it, that's all that really matters.
Exactly.
Now, does anyone? Just the question: does anybody have a black saber?
A dark saber.
Dark saber.
We can't. The shape of a dark saber, like the only blades that are like all of our lightsaber blades to be approved, they're all polycarbonate, which is like a much more durable material than like say the dark sabers that we've seen a lot that people make. They make them out of acrylic, so they crack really easily. Okay. So until somebody comes out with a dark saber that like, I think it's the shape with the hard edges, it like bites into the blades much more when you're fighting. So like to do it a dark saber in a real show, we'd probably need something a little more rounded, maybe oval, but something that's safe that we could use. So in shows, we would probably never use a dark saber unless we can figure out a safe way to do it.
Yeah, because I know even like what's it, Giancarlo Esposito. He broke a few dark sabers during the Mandalorian filming. He said so. You know, you got to figure that they're making it look, I'd say, as lifelike or as realistic as possible. So they're probably not made for the durability because they want to make it look good or whatever they need, however they need to make it, so that once they put it on screen and add the effects, you know, it's not like a regular lightsaber that they can do it with. So that I guess that would kind of make sense.
Yeah. We just haven't found one that like works for us. What I would do if like we had a character that used a dark saber and I wanted to use them in a show, I'd probably just get somebody with a white blade and like make a round saber have the sparking effect, like put the dark on the white so that it would be the black and white color, but it would be a circle instead of the like blade shape, because the hard blade shape is what messes it up, and the fact that it's acrylic.
Yeah, because it actually looks like it's like a sword. Sword.
Yeah, it's like a katana blade or a ninja toe blade. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
now, have you thought about branching off? We have a lot of new stories coming out, even though they've been put off a little bit. We have the High Republic coming out. Have you looked at any of those characters and thought, you know, maybe I could do something with one of these guys? Or
I usually like, I mean, I don't know. Like for me, like I kind of I go for like when the characters like speak to me. That's when I'm like I get into it. And I guess that the exception would be the Rebels, because when we started doing Rebels, it was like Axel and my wife were like all about it, and they were like, "This is perfect for us." And then my wife was like, "We can do this as a family," and I was like, "We already do it as a family. It's fine." But she basically convinced the rest of us to get into it, and then once we got into it, it like became the perfect thing. So of course my wife was right. But like the High Republic stuff looks amazing. I love like the detail, and they have like leather scabbards for their saber hilts with cross guards, and they have like leather bracers and stuff. Like they have really, really cool elements and like embroidery and like little you know, like crowns and like things like that. So I think I'm gonna wait until I don't like nothing grabs me yet. So I'm curious to see like what happens. If I was gonna make anything else right now, like I think maybe in another 10 or 15 years I'll bust out a Yeager if I can get that voice down. I can be like, "Hey Cass, what are you doing, man?" Like that's just the coolest. Like I just like his voice is just so amazing. And I like the character, and he's like super fun, and he's just like a dude with dreads, and I dig him a lot. But yeah, I think as far as like stuff we have in the works, like I stick with my two characters, but I'm still like I never did the Clone Wars version of Voss, so I'm finishing up that version so I can do. I guess I don't have to do anything, but it's like literally the cartoon version, just so I can feel if I stand next to a Kenobi with armor, then we look cool together. And I'm making a Axel has like he's outgrown his season 1 so many times that I'm making him like a season 1 and 2 again, just so he can like rock his like custom helmets and stuff. And we're getting that helmet done too. And then Lizzie's going for Epilogue Sabine. So we've got to figure out how to put electronics into a chest plate because there's lights in there, and I want to do that because it looks awesome. Because why would you not? And then Hera's pretty much stayed the same, although I do like the new headpiece and jacket that she has in Squadrons. So we'll talk to the wife and see if we can go for that. So like we're sticking with the same characters mostly, but there's always something I'm missing. I want to do the silly like Kanan on disguise in Lothal when they go back and he has like sunglasses and a little white cap. And my wife is like, "It looks ridiculous. Do not wear that out in public." And I'm like, "But it's so fun. It seems funny." And I can go like, "I wish I could see you." You know, that's the good episode.
Yeah, you know, it's that making a costume for only that one episode. And then only having a few people actually know who you are. You know, if you were at Celebration in 2022, you know, and that was your costume for one of the days, a lot of people would know who you are, but they wouldn't know. They would know who Sal is, but they wouldn't know who you're dressed as because it's only in one episode of Rebels that he's dressed like that. But it's like that deep cut that you can be like, yep, and then people are like, you get more of the props that way because you're going the really deep cut on that one.
The dream is the to do the like, hey, look, it's Kanan from that one episode, The Occupation from season 4 of Star Wars Rebels. But the other one that I've been on the search for a really long time is in Dark Disciple, Voss and Ventress, they like disguise themselves to go into a gala to assassinate Dooku. And they released the like turnarounds for Ventress's like dress, but they never released the turnarounds for Voss's like, fancy gala disguise. So if those ever come out, I'm so on that, and it's going to be amazing. I can't wait. Hear me, Lucasfilm. Hear me.
Yeah, they're not going to be watching this, so you're going the wrong way on that one.
I can still, if it's the will of the Force, it'll happen, buddy.
Put it out there. Put it out there.
I'm going to put it out there everywhere I can.
You start a hashtag for it, and then get that going. Yeah, someone said they didn't know how much or how regulated the uniforms were, or the when you get into like the 501st or things like that. Yeah, the 501st and a lot of the other ones, they measure you down to the centimeter to make sure it's right. And if you're fat and you put on weight, you got to get a whole new costume because you can't be a bulgy stormtrooper like that. So
I guess it like ends because it's like pretty much anything you make, whether 501st or Saber Guild or whatever, it's like it has to fit you. You know what I mean? Like, so no matter what, like the fit has to fit you. So you can, you can't, it's not like they can just sell a stormtrooper costume and it's going to work for anybody. They have to sell a stormtrooper kit and you have to build it so that it fits you and it looks right and all that kind of stuff. And then as far as pricing goes, it all depends on like how complicated, like you can probably build, like, I think at Novos used to sell those stormtroopers for like $500 and that's complete. You're going to spend 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month on it, but there's a costume. And then it's like a, if you're doing a Vader or a Boba Fett, then you're probably looking at like $4,000 because that's electronics. That's a whole different kind of paint and masks and like soft parts and like leather bodysuit for Vader, So like, it really kind of all depends. Like a Jedi, you need like a leather belt, leather boots, brown pants, and like a tunic. So the tunic is probably the most expensive, and a lightsaber. So like probably pretty cheap, but a Boba Fett or a Jango Fett or a Darth Vader, something that's like really complicated and also really like precise, particularly movie stuff, because like movie stuff, because it's real and it exists, it's like kind of graded against that. So your Kylo has to look like Adam Driver's Kylo, or like, that's not it. Hold on, let me open the door for the dog.
Yeah, Pauline, these are really good questions, and I guess you seem to be getting all the good ones in there.
Yeah, so it's like like the Kylo helmet has to fit your face. Like Kylo, the helmet is like it's like tight and it's close. So like if your head is bigger than the one that you bought, like it's not gonna work. You have to buy from another maker. Because if they see your chin sticking out the bottom, like that's not gonna get approved. Your cape has to be wherever his cape is. I know a couple of times, I think we were trying to approve a Kylo, and the guy, like, he bought the suit, and it was too, like, he was very tall, but he was very thin, so it just, like, it was too wide for him. Like, so it looked loose and baggy, and Kylo's looks like it fits him, so he had to, like, take it in a couple inches to make sure it fit nice and snug, and he looked like Kylo, So it all depends on the costume, and it all depends on what the intended effect. Like I think when I do things, I do my research, and I have all my, like, I take so many references off of whatever I can, and I take references of things in different lighting, and then I decide on a color, and then when I decide on my color, like doing Kanan. When I did Kanan, there was no Kanan. Nobody had ever done Kanan. I couldn't go. Like, if you do Darth Vader, You can go to like the RPF or the 501st or somewhere and look at a million people that have done Vader. Hey, this is how you put together the helmet. If you're doing a New Hope Vader, you need this paint. If you're doing Empire Strikes Back Vader, you need this paint. Like everything is researched because people have spent so much time researching, you know. But if you're doing something brand new, you got to do that research. And then when you're submitting it, like you're submitting it to people, and the only thing they have is your research and whatever they've seen. Which, if things are new, like Kanan, when I did it, it doesn't have, like when I first submitted Kanan, they were like, hey, he doesn't have pockets. You have to sew your pockets shut. All right, so I sewed my pockets shut, and then I think that was it for the first one. And season 3 Kanan, they were telling me he didn't have red gloves because somebody else had done Kanan, and they had given them, they had written on they're called CRLs, which is like the costume. The CRL is like the guideline for what the costume is. They had written that Kanan has brown gloves. And I was like, no, they're like reddish. His gloves are red in season 3 and 4. And they were like, no, we need brown gloves. This is what the rules say. So I had to send them 15 pictures of Kanan with red gloves. Here he is with red gloves on Cronist. Here he is with red gloves on Lothal. Here he is in red gloves on Chopper Base. Like, and it's all red, and it's not the lighting, because here it is in snow, here it is in sky, here it is in space. So they finally were like, okay, it's red gloves. You know, so you really have to like kind of be prepared, and you have to like know what you're getting into, especially if it's a new costume. If it's an older costume, you literally just have to follow the guidelines, which can also be difficult because you got to make sure you're matching the stuff. And so it's like I love trooping and I love doing these things, and you want to have these guidelines because you want everybody to look like they stepped. The whole point of rules is so everybody looks like they stepped out of the movie, right? But then on the other side is like what kid is going to notice that Vader's cape is 1 inch shorter than that other Vader's cape or whatever? So like you can get into a place that's like too nitpicky, which I don't like, but also like you need a guideline so that you got, you know, when you come out in your Stormtrooper, like it should look just as good as everybody else's Stormtrooper, and everybody should look like they did a real good Stormtrooper. Because if like they just, you know, if you didn't do the strap right, or your belt is loose or whatever, and it looks off, or you're, you know, then it doesn't look good together, you know, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't, like, there's a quality, you know, so I like that quality, but also like, you got to remember, like, you can look like you stepped out of a movie, and like 1 inch isn't that much. Like, I feel like there's a little give and take with it, but you shouldn't err too much on that side of like strictness. Like sometimes rules are just too much, I guess.
Yeah, it's got to, you know, I mean, you have to have, the rules should be kind of gray, you know, like where if it says it has to be, you know, 1/4 of an inch past the knee and it's 1 inch past the knee, well, it's really not that big of a deal because, you know, I'm 6 feet tall. If my back's bothering me, I'm hunched over a little bit. I might be 5'10" that day, which means my costume is going to be a little bit off. So, you know, who's really going to be judging that when, you know, I'm standing around or whatever. Or if I put on 20 or 30 pounds during quarantine because I'm not working, I'm just sitting around eating ice cream because I'm bored. You know, I mean, that, you know, things like that happen. So
yeah, definitely.
Now, Mandalorian 2, any ideas? What are your thoughts on what we have going on?
Like, I know there's a whole bunch of rumors and I've seen them like passing, but I really like I try not to focus on them and pay attention to them because I like watching things. You know, when I see the trailer, I want to get excited. When I watch the show, I want to get excited. So I try not to like dive too much into like the rumor side of stuff. But as far as season 2 of Mando, like I can say the things that I do want: story about the Darksaber, more Mandos, more Cara. I want a lot of Cara Dune. Like that's like my favorite character on that show right now, I think, if you don't count the child. You know, but I think really getting into the Mandos and like where that covert went or what's going on with them, and like I'd really like to dive into it. How Gideon got the Darksaber, what he's doing with the Darksaber, what's going on Mandalore. Like that's like, now I'm curious as to where all that sort of like leads. Now that we've got those like 2 amazing, tantalizing setups. You know?
Yeah. Well, then we also have coming out. Well, this is where it gets a little confusing. So for a few months, I've had ordered Volume 1 of art and imagery of The Mandalorian, which is completely separate from the art of Mandalorian that they just announced is coming out. That was supposed to come out in August, and then in September, October, Volume 2 of Art and Imagery was supposed to come out. But I just got a notification from Amazon that it's been pushed back. They don't have a date for it yet. So that could be more along the lines of, like, you get, just for example, The Rise of Skywalker. You have the official book for it, which is 50 or 60 pages, all really nice pictures. And there's a picture and then a page of text about that picture. Which is completely opposite of the art book, but they're both art books. They're named differently. So I'm not really sure what we're going to get. But with the stories, now we have a novel coming out about the Mandalorian. And that's going to be a brand new story we don't know about. So I don't think it's going to be filling in details that we don't know. That's probably going to be giving us a whole different story. So that might give us Din Djarin before this all happens, and then we don't have to worry about episodes or going back. You know, we can still get flashbacks that fill in a little bit, but now we have this book that tells us. And you know, the people that are just going to watch The Mandalorian for Baby Yoda, they don't care about the book. They really don't care about the backstory of Din Djarin. You know, but we're going to read the book and we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about it for weeks and months, if not years. And whatever then, you know, book comes out after that. And my girlfriend's not into Star Wars at all. We've been together 8 years, and we watched our first Star Wars movie. She grew up watching it with her brother and her dad, but she hasn't seen it since the original trilogy. And so we watched our first movie. I picked Solo because I was like, it's going to be a nice, easy one, and don't have to answer any questions. And if it's months or years before we watch another one, I don't have to answer then from, you know, that's what happened in 1 versus 2. Excuse me. And I just got her to watch The Mandalorian after I try all the time, and like we just get an argument. She's like, I don't want to watch it. Why are you going to make me watch it? I'm like, please, I want you to watch it. You'll like it. Because that's what happens in, you know, everything like Sons of Anarchy and Game of Thrones, like all those shows I try and get her to watch. I don't want to watch a show about motorcycles. I don't want to watch a show about drugs. And then an episode or two into it, and she's hooked. And The Mandalorian, she was on her phone playing whatever game, the first episode. And by the second episode, she's making noise. She's going, oh. And then like, yeah, you're hooked now. So we still only got those 2 episodes in, but it's at least, you know, breaking her in a little bit. So she really only cares about Baby Yoda, which is fine. If that's what it takes to get her hooked into The Mandalorian, and then she actually starts caring about the story, you know, that's great. So she's never going to read the book or care about it. Or she knows the bad thing about it is like I'll talk Star Wars to her. She'll be like, you know, I'm not listening to you, don't I? Don't you? And I'm like, yep, I know. And I'll just keep talking because it's like, you know. So she listens to a couple words. It was funny because she like I kind of embellished it a little bit, but she thought the Mandalorian was a ship, like the Millennium Falcon. She had no idea that what Mandalore was. Mandalorians were. She just thought the Mandalorian. It was a ship. It was a story about people on the ship. So, you know, she told me this when we started watching the second episode. So of course I tweeted them like, my girlfriend's watching it for the first time, and she just told me this now in the second episode. She's like, you know, you're an asshole because I've known this since the beginning of the first episode. I figured it out. I just didn't tell you till the second one. I was like, well, that's not what Twitter thinks now. It's, you know, these are the rules. This is the way.
My wife loves The Mandalorian. She really likes Cara Dune. So, I mean, that might be another thing that we might step into if we start. I've already started researching that costume, see what that takes, because it's a little bit complicated. But Cara Dune is like her jam. And then like she's not like I do everything. I read all the comics and I read all the books, and I generally like enjoy pretty much everything that I like, you know. But she knows what she likes. So she'll do like certain things. And like in our house, we have a real like she's always been like, she's had some issues with Padme, but like she loves both of those Padme books, particularly that new one that just came out, Queen's Peril. So she read Queen's Peril and she was like all about it. Now she's like obsessed with handmaidens. I guess not Padme technically, but she's obsessed with handmaidens right now. So like that's her new jam, that and Cara Dune. So like, you know, like she used to do, she was into the Afra comics a lot. So she like wouldn't read everything, but she would do Afra. And then, you know, the Padme books. I think she did Black Spire and she liked that one a lot. And then so she picks and chooses. Like we all watch Resistance together. We had a lot of fun with Resistance. It makes me a little bit sad that Resistance didn't get a publishing like thing. Like Mando got one, and even Rebels came out. We got a New Dawn, and like we got an Ezra book. We got Ezra's Gamble. So we have like every show has had like some kind of publishing. For Resistance, we didn't get any book, and we got like 2 issues of a Star Wars Adventures comic. And I hope those characters can go, can live on somewhere and become, really cool additions to the universe, because the show was really good, and I really enjoyed a lot of those characters. Like I said, like Yeager and like I love the Doza family. The Doza family is my favorite Star Wars family right now.
Yeah, I really like that show, and people, oh, it was a kid's show. Well, yeah, if you go into knowing that it's geared towards 8-year-olds instead of Clone Wars, which was like 13-year-old or 16-year-old or like Rebels or whatever, it's like you just have to go with the mindset. It's like if you're reading a young adult novel or a YR book, it's like It's not going to be very important canon, that fills in these things that you never had an idea about, with like the Tarkin book, or when things about bloodlines that you get. It's not going to be anything, really heavy like that. It's going to just kind of be like fun. It's like when, people say, oh, I've never read a book before, a Star Wars book. What book should I read? And it's like, I can't tell you that. Like, I need to talk to you now. And I need, like, what do you like? Do you want to talk about, like somebody puts on Twitter, oh, hey, I want to read a book. Okay. I was like, all right, do you like politics? Do you like war? Do you like this? Do you like that? Okay. Now you give me a couple of those answers and I can narrow it down to what I think you're going to like, along those lines. But, it's the same way with, if I want a kid's cartoon where I just want to watch, the equivalent of Jar Jar Binks for an entire season. Well, okay, that's Kaz pretty much. And then that's how you can go from there.
When anybody asks me the book question, I forgo all of that and I just say Dark Disciple.
Well, I think I've heard you say that before, or I've seen that on Twitter. That's always your go-to answer, no matter what. That's my go-to. Yeah, I mean, Dark Disciple. It's like that sleeper book that nobody ever reads because it's like, who's Quinlan Voss? And Ventress is just kind of like, a throwaway character. And I don't mean that. I mean, she's a really deep, complex character, but she's not in any of the movies. She's in a couple episodes of a cartoon, and it's like, all right, well, who really cares about her? Well, it's actually a great book, so go ahead and read it, and you'll have a different idea about that on what it is. People get upset with me because I'm like, I call Asajj Ventress a throwaway character. Well, that's not what I think. That's not what I think. I think she's a great character, but that's what most people, if you're like, that are Star Wars fans, and then that's the other thing too. Everybody's a Star Wars fan until you start talking to them. And they're like, that Dark Vader guy. It's like, okay, yeah. But I'm not here to take away anybody's. If they say they're a Star Wars fan, they're a Star Wars fan. They're just maybe not as neurotic as I am, or don't know as much as I do. And I'm not up to date on all the comics and on the Legends. So if someone like you were talking about a couple things from Legends, I didn't know about that, but it's like, okay, go ahead and talk, because that's how you're going to learn more. I Kindle Unlimited. I have the free trial on Amazon, and I was like, well, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that because I don't need that for anything. I was like, wait a second, look at all these comic books that I can get for free with that I can't get. I'm already paying $6 a month for Comixology or whatever it is, to get all the old stuff. But it's like, I can get this new stuff that I was going to buy for $8. That's on my list that I just haven't got to, reading yet or getting into the books. It's like, so it's $8 for the Kanan comic book. Well, I can get that for another $1. I can have, these other ones. So, I've read, I think, 3 comic books off of Comixology, and I've had it for a year. So I'm not really getting my money's worth out of that one. But that's just when there's so much coming out and so much stuff that, like, I need to make time and like set a schedule. Like, for a while I was like, okay, there was no new books coming out, and I was like, okay, I need to put an hour a day that I'm going to use for books to either reread or catch up or do whatever. instead of having the podcast or do this or that. And it's like right now, I told you with my computer being in the shop, I can't play any games, and I usually stream Fallen Order. My first time going through Fallen Order took me over 100 hours because I haven't had a console since the original Xbox came out in like 2000, and because of not so nice old relationship of mine, that ended up in the garbage. So along with all my other stuff that ended up in the fireplace, but that's a whole other story in itself. All my Star Wars stuff, yeah. So I started over.
That's Legends.
Yeah, that's Legends, perfect. So it's like, that was, I think, the last time I really game, it's been 18 years or 19 years, and so I had no idea what I was doing when I was playing Fallen Order. And people are just sitting there. I can just picture them from their comments they're putting me while I'm streaming it. Like they're just sitting there laughing at like what an idiot I am because I don't even know, like, what do you mean I'm supposed to run against the wall? How am I supposed to do that? And I just don't like the basic fundamentals. I'm used to it goes the game goes like this, and I go from left to right, and that's how you go. Not this open world and going around and doing whatever. But yeah, the first run was about 100 hours, and then I started a second one, and I'm about a little over halfway through, and it's about 14 hours. So the learning curve took me a while, but it got there. But since I don't have that to do, I'm trying to do like I just have stacks of Black Series and Funkos and books that I want to do quick little videos. Not like some I do one that's called the Holocron House, where I go through like the visual dictionary page by page and I talk about it with people, and I do it like an open chat. So if anybody has a question because they don't have the book and I have it, and they can say, hey, go back to this or go that, or they can, doing this, they can come right on and talk with me about it. And then I have other ones that I just do really quick, like, okay, just flip through the pages. This is what it looks like. Go buy it if you like it. So now that I have that, I'm just trying to do a quick little video every day since I don't have my video game to play. It's just the first couple of days were really tough, being that, I went from having a real computer to a little notebook. And, the 4-minute video took 45 minutes to render. And it's like, I couldn't do a real video that way because it would take 3 days. But it's just, I mean, Star Wars is my therapy. That's what I use.
Star Wars is fun. Star Wars is good. Star Wars for everybody. And man, there's something I always like how they say Star Wars is for everybody. I kind of always say everybody has their Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, Star Wars is for everybody, but there's always going to be something that speaks to you or her or them or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, like for my family, obviously Rebels is like the best Star Wars thing ever. And I don't know if anything's ever going to touch it. For other people, it's like, hey man, I grew up with the original trilogy and I love Empire Strikes Back. For other people, it's like, yo, Phantom Menace is the best and stuff like that. So it's like, I always like, or the books are like different things. And I like the way that different media really can like give you a different experience. Like there's things that books can do that you cannot do in a movie. There's things that a TV series can do. You can stretch the story long, still have a cinematic experience, but like really have that space to tell a story and not squeeze everything into 2 hours. And there's things that comic, like any Mandalorian and Darth Maul look really good in comics. Like, there's like lots of really cool stuff that like, and I like that they respect that and they tell these different, and even like Fallen Order, there's a really good story and a really good playthrough. And I'm going to do that again. That was a fun game. Maybe I'll learn how to stream.
Yeah. Streaming's easy. It wasn't for me. It took me 3 or 4 times of playing it. And it's like, you don't have any sound and my controller wasn't set up. But yeah, I mean, it's just like, why does someone think that whatever, episode 3 is the better movie than 6? Or, we know people that Revenge of the Sith, they think it's the greatest movie and the greatest book. Other people think Return of the Jedi is, or they're like the sequels or the prequels or whatever it was. And I mean, just going into that, there's a podcast out there, the Holochronicles. They deal with collecting, and pretty much anything you collect, they'll talk about it. And they were like, hey, they do this thing. It's called Show Me Your Collection. They're like, we want to see your book collection. So I just took a bunch of pictures of my bookcase. I have a 7.5 foot tall bookcase by 4 feet or whatever it is, and it's pretty much jam packed. I don't, you know, I'm gonna have to get another bookcase to start putting books in. And I did a quick 2-minute video or 3-minute video, like, here, these are, I got a kind of arranged like this, but it's always moving and fluid because I'm getting new books in, or I pull books out to look something up and read. And you know, they asked me, they're like, why books? I was like, I don't know. They're books. Like, I don't like reading books. Like, I don't want to sit down and read a novel, but I'll grab a book off the shelf and go through and read and look at whatever, you know, not the pictures because I'm actually reading, but you know, it's like, I mean, I don't know. That's just what I like to do. I'd rather have those books than, you know, I do have Funkos and Black Series, but you know, I'd rather have, you know, I don't know. You can sit there and stare at Funkos and Black Series or build a diorama with them, but unless you're actually sitting there playing with them, I mean, they're just kind of there, books you can use. You know, I was one of those nerdy kids that, you know, I would read encyclopedias instead of reading books and novels because encyclopedias to me were more fun because they're, you know, they're educational. You know, I wouldn't read books for school, but give me an encyclopedia to read for fun, and that's a different story.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm all about the books, and like I like stories. So whatever tells me that story, whether it's a book or a Blu-ray season of Clone Wars or a video game like Fallen Order, like I love those experiences and the stories that it tells, and I like having it. Like I'm, you know, I like audiobooks and I like to do that too. But then like I like having a book in my hand and having it on my shelf in order with Empire's End right after Life Debt and Alphabet Squadron. You know, like I like looking at that and seeing that thing. So I guess like that's my collecting kind of thing too. Same as you. Like I do the books.
Yeah. And then we'll get back to the books. If somebody's leaving, they want to know, what do you like better? Do you like the theatrical version of the original trilogy or the digitally enhanced version?
Special edition all the way. Everything was an improvement. There's no reason not to love it for me.
Yeah. I have the on a drive. I have the OT, and they're fun to watch. But you like, unless when I go to watch them, like the original ones, I'm like looking for things that aren't there. I'm like, wait a second, where is this? Because I haven't seen it in a couple of years. I've seen Return of the Jedi 20 times in the last year, from the last time I saw the original one, and it's like, wait a second, it's a completely different movie. Where am I missing? I'm missing this. I'm missing that. You know,
yeah.
Where are the rocks that are supposed to be there, or just, you know, whatever it happens to be.
I have that last DVD set that has the original ones on a second disc. I don't think I've ever watched them, but I do have them. If I ever wanted to go back, I like bought it because I was like, hey, maybe one day I'll show the kids like the originals. I haven't done it.
Yeah, because I mean, we were talking a couple weeks ago about it, and it's like the majority of the stuff doesn't change the story. You know, unless you put like with Han meeting Jabba in Episode 4. You know, that we had a discussion about, because I think that growing up, it was kind of like you don't see Jabba until Return of the Jedi. So seeing him in Star Wars, it's kind of like takes it away a little bit who Jabba is, because you know, originally Jabba was this huge. I mean, he was a big Jabba the Hutt, this big huge thing, and then you see him in Star Wars, he's just like this little dinky slug guy that, you know, Han's walking all over. So it kind of takes away some of the magical power. But you know, I mean, that's what the guy that made the movies at the time wanted to do. That's what he did, and you know, they were his movies, so he can do what he wants to do with them and change them. And then he goes and sells them. So now whoever owns it now and whoever owns it, I don't think Disney will ever sell it. But if anyone was to ever buy it after Disney, whatever they do to it, you know, it's theirs. That's their story. One of my buddies is writing a comic book, and there was a conversation about, you know, once somebody buys that comic book, it's theirs. They can do what they want. And it's like, well, yeah, the comic book's theirs. So they can draw the comic book, they can burn the comic book, they can throw it in the garbage, you know, whatever the hell they feel like doing with it, they can do. But the story's not theirs. The story's whoever wrote it. You know, that comic book, that actual physical property is theirs, but the IP is somebody else's. So whatever that person that owns the IP wants to do, it's theirs. You can do whatever you want with your copy, but that doesn't make it, you know, that turns it into fan fiction. It doesn't make it canon anymore. So I don't even know where that tangent came from. I just kind of I got go off.
That's
This is actually one of the best episodes because I usually just go off on tangents where I just sit there and talk, and I'll be like, after a couple minutes, I'm like, what the hell am I even talking about? And whoever I'm talking to, they're just kind of sitting there like, I don't know, man. I'm just letting you go. So we didn't really have too many of those today. But yeah, we got McClunky. Somebody said in the chat, so they put McClunky in there. What? It doesn't hurt anything.
It's really funny for no reason.
Yeah.
I don't know why I find it entertaining, but I do. It definitely doesn't damage the movie for me. I love that. What is it like? And I love how much like some of this stuff just embeds itself into the culture, because you have like whoever is like, what is this? Like, why are they changing? Why is Disney changing? First of all, it wasn't Disney. Disney did nothing because everything was locked in before George left, and George put that in there. So leave him alone. And what does it do? Why does it really bother you? It's so funny to see like people getting upset over their like what they perceive is the story, regardless of what the actual story is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's where like I'll have conversations with people, and it's like you have canon, and you need to have canon because that's kind of like rules. That's the facts and the history, and then we as individuals can interpret those, those things that we know as facts. And I tell you this is a fact. Well, we can still there's two sides to every fact too, and ways that you can manipulate it, and that's where the conversations come into play. Like who shot first? Did Han shoot first? Well, it depends what version you watch. And if you go with the latest one, he didn't, but we all know he did. But it kind of, it changes the story a little bit on what it is. But if your kids watch it for the first time and Greedo shoots first and misses Han and Han shoots him, does it really make that much of a difference from what you saw when you were a kid growing up? Because it's the same thing, But back when it came out, it was okay that Han shot him first because, he's still a good guy. He just did it before he got shot. It's like if you shoot somebody before you get shot at, even though they're going to shoot you, does that make you a bad guy or not? It just depends on things. Things change a little bit with the time, but it's still really it's not that big of a deal. It's just people that want to complain about nothing because it's it's a story. It's something for us to talk about, but when it comes down to it, it doesn't really change the story or our love of my love of Star Wars.
Have you ever read Legends of Luke Skywalker?
Yes, I actually that was 2 books ago, and I saw someone had posted about it today.
It was a book club like this week, so like I just got reminded of it. But in the very first story is them like talking about how like everything was like a conspiracy, and it's really hilarious because it almost like breaks that fourth wall. And they're like, if you see the footage, sometimes Han shoots first and sometimes he doesn't, and like that footage was doctored because he was just a jerk. Like, and it's just a really funny like tongue-in-cheek kind of like story that like takes all of those like changes in universe and puts like a really hilarious spin on it. There's like another one, I think it's like the same story where they go like if you look at the footage, the explosion looks different from 2 different angles. Like that's because it was doctored footage. Like one has an expanding ring around it and the other one doesn't. Like, aha. And it's just really to think that in universe they're questioning the validity of the stories they're being told as well.
Yeah, and people are, in the story they're saying like, Luke Skywalker, it's like they were more like the characters from Spaceballs, and then we want to make them seem like really great, so we turn them into Star Wars. So it's like Star Wars is actually Spaceballs, but we want to tell you how great it is, so we turn it into Star Wars.
In mind all the special editions or non-special editions that you have watched to bring that in here to like make extra jokes about it.
Yeah,
good stuff. Well, I actually got to take off now. I'm gonna go make sure everybody else had dinner.
All right. What are you eating? What did
Lizzie made? It's like an inside out pot pie.
Okay.
So basically, like all of a pot pie stuff with biscuits inside.
Nice.
So it's pretty good. She's made it a few times. My wife is not too keen on it, but she liked it last time. But my son loves it. So whenever she makes that, it's like a nice, good like hearty oven bake kind of meal. So I'm gonna go make sure everybody's good with that. And yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on, dude.
Well, thank you for coming on and chatting with me.
Yeah,
And,
good times.
Yeah,
Can definitely do this again sometime.
Yeah, stop by, hang out in the chat anytime you want to. Every Monday at 9:30, so 6:30 for you. So whatever you got going. I've been out of work for a couple months because of COVID. So I'm waiting for my doctors to give me the okay to get back. It's one of those catch-22s. It's like I'm not sick enough that I can't work, but work is saying I can't work until they figure out what's wrong with me. And it's like I'm in New York City, so I couldn't get a COVID test, so they don't know if I had it or not. I had some type of respiratory infection, and now I have respiratory issues. And until they can figure out what it is or why I'm having them, I can't go back to work, even though I can go back to work because I'm not sick. But
right.
So yeah, I'm just trying to make as much content as I can until I go back, because hopefully when I go back, I won't be able to make anything because I'll be working nonstop. But
hey, stay safe, man. Stay safe.
You also, you guys, you're starting to get crazy over there now. We were doing better for a while, and then people just are idiots and go out not wearing masks and shoulder to shoulder in the streets and everything. But
yeah, we're locked up tight in our hidden rebel fortress, so we're staying as safe as we possibly can, man.
All right, Sal. I will see you in 2022.
All right, thank you so much, and have a great night, everybody.
Right. May the force be with you.
And with you, sir.
All right. So that was Sal Prelitz from Rogue Rebels. And let's see. We have Michelle is in here. I'm still having some issues. I'm trying to see if I can. Usually I'm highlighting stuff and trying to talk to people. But things are a little bit off right now in the computer world. So we got Michelle in here. For those of you that don't know, she is on the Force of Light podcast. They do Star Wars. They do a little bit of everything. They just did a Wonder Woman episode that came out, and that was really good. I listened to that today, actually. So let's see. So yeah, this is tough again. That's going from having a good computer to using a little 4 gigabyte notebook makes things kind of difficult when you're doing. So yeah, if anybody wants to, let me see. I should be able to share this though. If anybody wants to hop on and say hello, or has anything they want to talk about, or any questions, I don't know why that's frozen on there now. Maybe it's just frozen on my screen. See, it's just trying to highlight this. It's just really, really slow right now. It took me all that time just to highlight this. So, I don't know what I just did. I don't want to do that though, I don't think. I'll get it, don't worry. It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have read Dark Disciple. That was what Sal and I were talking about for a little bit. That's the book that he said whenever anybody asks about a book, he just tells them to read that because that's his favorite. That's the one with Quinlan Voss, who he does the costuming for, and Asajj Ventress. And I'm not going to tell you any more about it, except it's a freaking amazing book. So let's see here. Yeah, and the other thing I was talking to him about, or I said, since I'm into the video games, I put up I did that video of my book collection for the guys at Holo Chronicles, and then I put up one of the Baby Yoda today, so you guys go check that out. Tomorrow, I think, is going to be I got a couple Black series to do, and a couple Funkos. Usually, I hold everything until Mondays to open them up. You know, I'd say no matter what it is, just so that I can open it with you guys. But I got in some Black series that I really wanted to open, so I opened them up and did a video on it instead. But I do have some cool stuff that came in. I got a lot of stuff. I think it's actually all books. And I got this one box that I didn't think it was. I went down to it said I got a book got delivered, and I went down and I got the book, and I was like, wait a second, this isn't a book. What's this huge box? And it's really heavy. So I'm really interested to see what it is, because if it's what I think it is, I don't know why it's in that thing. But we'll have to figure that out, and then yeah. So there wasn't really a lot of Star Wars news this week, and I'll be honest with you, with the computer problems. I mean, like I said, that 4-minute video and that I made, it took me 3 hours, 4 hours to do, because usually you just go in and you click a couple buttons, slice some things out, pull them out, move stuff around, and it's just like, you saw how long it took me to just post that. If anybody wanted to come on here, that the StreamYard's link. So imagine trying to edit the video out. Red said what she said. But so, did anybody pick up this book? Oh, excuse me. That was extremely rude of me. We have the Black Spire. The book came out a few months ago, but the paperback just came out a few days ago, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet or get into it. But there's a little story in here that I haven't gotten to yet. But it's an additional story, and I don't know anything about it really. Oh, here we go. Here it is back here. Black Spire: Return to a Shattered Planet by Delilah S. Dawson. Pauline, man, listen, no one's rude. Like, we're all friends here. I make fun of Mr. Rez. He usually gets banned. Mr. Rez usually gets banned from here. I ban Mr. Rez from other people's streams. Like, you'll see me ban him, I'll like ban Rez or whatever it is. Last week was Mr. Rez's birthday, so I had to be nice to him. Some bitch ain't got a birthday today now, so he, But anyways, all right. So we're gonna open up a couple things since we're here. Anyways, yeah. So I just found out what this is, the story. So it's not really that long, just a couple pages. How many pages is it? It doesn't. 535 to. So it's about 30 pages. Maybe I'll knock that out and see what's going on. Yeah, like I was, we're all friends here, for the most part. I'm not even gonna do it. Yeah, there's a couple Looney Tunes floating around, but other than that, everybody's pretty good. All right, so here we go. This little guy right here. Pauline, open the boxes. Yeah, it's not, like, I would expect Rez tried it and be like, "Open the boxes now, asshole," and I'd be like, "Whoa, calm down, buddy." And but he's just joking around. Everybody loves each other here. If we didn't like each other, we wouldn't be here. So, all right. Here we go. It is a New Hope. It's like a pocket-sized script guy right here. Because that's what it is. I got the I got the script. I should have been. I think last week you would have seen me open it up. The big one that has everything. And this is just a little baby one. From World Books, and they put a little Band-Aid on it because there was something wrong with it. So there you go. All right, let's see what's in this one here. What's in this one? Another one. Gilster, thank you very much for stopping by. We're going to have to get you on here chatting once sometime. And thank you very much for the super chat. We really appreciate that. Those super chats really do add up. I'm not one of those. I'm not going to sit here and harp on it. I'm not one of those big guys that are getting a lot of money off of YouTube and this and that and everything. So every couple dollars from anybody and everybody, it really does help. A little bit here and there at the end of the month pays the bills. All right, so here is Star Wars: A Galactic Pop-Up Adventure by Matthew Reiner. Wow. That's pretty cool. You see that? This smells like an old book, too. Woo-wee! You want to see a book? Ah! Why'd it come out blue? Oh, how does it change color? How is it a battery in there? What is going on here? I'm so confused. All right. This is going to be have to be a book for a different time. It's too hard to do right now. But, yeah. Oh, there's a little battery back here. Okay. Star Wars: A Galactic Pop-Up. Now, I can tell you, I thought that was this one, but that's the only problem with getting the books from like Goodwill or wherever I get the used books from. I don't know when they're coming, so I'll think, like, let's say I order 5 or 6 books. They can be coming, delivery date from, like, I ordered a couple today, used ones, and the delivery date was like 7/13 to like 7/19. One of them was 7/16 to 7/22. I don't really know when they're going to come, so I have an idea like what it is, or I'll get notified that it comes. So it's like, I knew I had the pop-up book, but I thought the pop-up book was in here because I wrote pop-up on there, and I just showed everybody where I live. So if you want to come to my house and bring me gifts, feel free if you read that. If not, I have an attack dog that will destroy you. Right, Boo-Boo?
Yeah, Dad. I'll eat them up. I'm an attack dog. I'll get them all real good, like I did those fireworks the other night.
Okay, go back. Lay down. I don't even know what the hell we're talking about half the time. Open the box. Never use a sharp knife like this to open this stuff up because that's how they get damaged and you cut them and you hurt them and stuff. Okay. Okay. All right. See, I was right. Try not to get all these peanuts all over the floor. Okay. So I was kind of right on this, I think. Here we go. The Galactic pop-up book. And I think, I could be completely wrong, but when I was looking at them and researching them, this was like the first edition, special edition copy or whatever it was. So it's just that one pop-up with the few other little ancillary pop-ups on the side. This one, I could be completely wrong. I know, imagine that. Mark it on your calendar for AM if I was. But I think this book is the same one, just like an expanded version. But let's see. Oh, we got a lot more in there. Oh. Okay, yeah, so here we go. So that's the guy we just got, right? But this one just has this. This one's got a lot of stuff popping up. Oh, Grievous, how you doing? So yeah, we'll do these as when I have the other computer back and I can get everything set up and go, from up over. We'll do these as a special one. Maybe I'll record it and then put it on the Patreon feed for the patrons for a little while so they can take a look at that one. I also have the really big one, the Galaxy pop-up book, that if you guys saw the video I did for my collection for a Holochronicle guys, one of the books that they talk about is the Pop-Up Galaxy. That's one of my favorite books. I've actually never popped it up because the one I got from Celebration, I talked with the people that made the book for like an hour. And then the guy that's the author, I talked with him for probably like 20 minutes or a half hour the day he signed it. Just like with that book that I have, the How Not to Get Eaten by Ewoks by Christian Blue Vault. Those are two of my favorite books because the authors of those books I sat there and I talked with for, a half hour, interviewed Christian Blue Vault. He drew a picture of a fucking Ewok in there for me, man. It's pretty cool. Pauline, yeah, she hates the fireworks. My other dog that just passed away at Christmas, she used to be afraid of the fireworks. Like she'd like shake and tremble, like she was gonna have a heart attack. She was like so nervous from them. And then I don't know what I just read. I read something, but it was completely wrong because whatever. And then Delilah, she hears the fireworks and she doesn't like them. She wants to attack them. She barks at everything. So like, she's the sweetest cutest little puppy in the world. She just wants to come up and go, make it, I love you, baby. I'm sorry. What about that? Anyways, but like if a leaf blows by, she barks at leaf because she knows it's not supposed to be there. Like if something's out of place or wrong, she barks at it. Or when there's like, and me being the owner, I know her different barks. So I know if she's barking at something, if she's barking at it because she doesn't like it, or she just wants, like, she's barking at someone like, hey, come give me attention, come pet me. I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. So here we go. All right. Yeah. Pauline, go to, after this video, I posted 2 videos yesterday. I posted one, it's like a 4-minute video on my collection. And then I posted one for Baby Yoda today, but if you don't really care about that, I mean, who cares, you know? All right. So, like I talked about the video for the collection, this is Star Wars Episode 1, the cross sections. I got a book the other day. The cover is the same as this, I believe, but the book's a little bit smaller, it's a little bit shorter, but it's all three of the 1, 2, and 3. I'll have to take a look and see. Maybe it's not. Maybe that was locations or something. But yeah, so here we go. You know, ship landing. Some of these are duplicated, or I've bought a couple that are like impacts. You know, whatever. And hey, if I did get something, I'll give it to somebody, a friend. You know, I mean, it's not like, I don't know. I'm like, hey, let's take a look at this stuff. Like, you know, who doesn't want a free book like this one? I mean, I'm not going to give you this book because I don't know what it is. But if I got 2 books, it'd be like, hey, who wants a book? Why would you say no? It's a free book, dude. You know, I know Mr. S has said a few times, hey, I want that book. I want that book. I don't know if he really does or not, but I don't even know what book he's talking about. So let's see. What do we have here? Oh! Here we go. This is what I was talking about. I picked up this, but it was... Where am I going? I'm falling over here. Episode 1. So, like, this is just a more, you know, a different script, or it's a script, but it has some nice, it says never before seen pictures. You know, maybe when this book came out, they were never before seen. I don't know. But, you know, that's pretty sweet. So now I have 1, 4, 5, and 6. Now I just need to get 2 and 3. Unless I have them, I don't know. I gotta check. That book seems kind of heavy. This book seems kind of heavy. Another book. I'm just gonna go through all these. I'm gonna go through all my books. I got a bunch more coming in. You know, I've been saving some stuff in case I didn't have anything, but that let me, you know, if I would open up all these last week, I would open up 15 or 20 books, and then I wouldn't have been able to open up those ones and make those videos for the stuff, which I guess I didn't need to because I still haven't posted them yet because I made 5 or 6 videos. It's just, you know, I was planning on having them all set up and all rendered and ready to go, but, you know, the amount of time it would have taken me to do all 6 videos was 1 video. So after this tonight, I'm going to start that other video for tomorrow, and you know, who knows when it gets posted. It gets posted when it gets posted, man. That's just the way it is. Oh! All right. This book I really like. This is one of those books that's been on my list for a long time. Just because it's, you know, crosses over into the 3 digits. You find it for like $150, $200. You might be able to find it in crappy condition for, you know, $100, $120. But I just sat there and I waited for it for 2 years, and you know, I ended up saving $50 or $80 on it because it's got a little rip right there. But it's this book, The History, or Star Wars and History. So what this is not so long ago, in our very own galaxy, George Lucas created the most successful and acclaimed film series of all time. Got some nice pictures in there, and it equates like, so the People's War Phase 1. Military theorists see People's War as a passing through 3 phases, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, it explains like how history, like real life history, not Star Wars real life history, but, you know, real history what happened with it, how it happened, and how things in Star Wars, relate to it. It's still talking about People's War going on, and here we got some some more stuff going on up in here with looks like some Japanese art. Won't really know the warrior and his weapon. So we have some Japanese art, some Japanese history going on right now again, and then we're talking about the Battle of Genosha. So a lot of the books, I mean, like, all right, especially like the prequel books are expensive because they only did one printing of them, and nobody wanted them because nobody was collecting prequel books because no one was buying books and collecting them, and then people didn't like the prequels, so there wasn't a lot of them out there and around. It's like, I got a really good deal on this. It was for about half of what you're going to find it. If you go on eBay and try and find it, if not more, I might have got it for like 70% off. But so they only did like one printing of them because they weren't selling. Nobody wanted them. And the book's, I don't know, 15, 20 years old. And now people are like, wait a second. We like the prequels. The prequels were good. We want these books. So it's like supply and demand. I can turn around and bought that book for $60. I can turn around and probably sell it for 150. But I'm not going to do that. That's what I think happened with the Art of Clone Wars book. To buy that book new, it's about $500, if not more. And you see the Art of Clone Wars used, almost the exact same price, if not more, than the new one. Like the new one, usually you can find it if you look for it on like Amazon. It's Amazon not selling, it's individual sellers. $450, $500 for a new one, and then the used ones are going to be $350 to $800, just because people can charge. There's not that many out there. People just put whatever they want for it. It's like, I read the book once, it's on my shelf. I don't want to keep it. I don't want to get rid of it, but I don't want to keep it. So I'll just put it on there for $800. And then someone offers me $500 for it. All right, fine, I'll take it. If I put it on there for $500 like everybody else is doing it, and then they want $300 for it, But yeah, I forgot that I got that book. And we got one more in here. So, yeah, that's like that costume book that I got. I just talked really quickly about the guys from Holo Chronicles. They said, hey, do you have this book? I said, no, why? I can't afford it. Because I talk about it in the video really quick that, I showed the book. I said, this book right here, these guys helped me get it. And, used, it's $500. Brand new, it's, could be over $1,000 for it. And I don't have that kind of money to spend on books. And it's not really that important to me to have it. That's why it's been on my list for years. And then, I was able to pick that book up for $100, which, some people might say, hey, $100 for a book is fucking crazy. It's insane. But, the book goes for 5 to 10 times that. So, I don't know. Kind of like action figures. Why is one action figure worth $2 and the other one's worth $50 or $100? Or, you get into the vintage figures, you can get a vintage figure for $20, or you get another vintage figure and it's $3,000. Supply and demand, supply and demand. All right. Here we go. I can't open it up. I'm sorry. Show's over. Go home. So here we go. Attack of the Clones, The Art of Book. This book belonged to Helen Chi. Her name's in it. That's also why I paid $20 for the book instead of $60 or $70. The corners are a little bit messed up. When the book came out, it was $12.98. But you find it new right now on Amazon for $60 or eBay or whatever. But yeah, so they're a little bit different than the art of books right now. Quick sketches. Here you go. Where it's like the other art, the art of books, the new ones that come out. It takes like an hour, hour and a half for me to go through each chapter, and I just read your question. Hang on, I go back to it. It takes me like an hour, hour and a half to go through each chapter and talk about the pictures and whatever. But this one, I could go through this one much faster because it's not a lot of writing. Where the other ones, you get a couple pages, and so you got the guys from right there. I'm doing the best I can with the camera I got going for you guys. So it's some of those other ones are going to come later on. But yeah, so Pauline was asking me. This is what you just talking about. I wasn't really talking about these books. I was talking about other books, but yeah, I get it used. So instead of being $60 or $80, I paid $20 for it. And, it's a little bit bent up. It's a little bit beat up. The book, the pages are fine. There's no writing on the pages. The dust jacket's a little bit creased. It looks like it's been used. It's been in and out of somebody's shelf. I got no problem with that. It's just the way it is. So I think I have episode 1 ordered, but that's been delayed. And I have I ordered all of them, the Art of Books 1 through 6, except for 3, because 3 was really expensive and I couldn't get a good deal on it. So I'm going to have all of the art books that were ever made. First start, don't go extreme there. But yeah, so I'm going to have 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Rogue One Solo, all those art books. And then 3, it's $60, $80, whatever it is. Just got to wait until I find one that's in good condition, or decent enough condition that it's like a sliding scale. If I can get a brand, I don't want to pay $60 or $80 for a brand new one. So I'll take one that's very good. These ones are probably in good condition, is what they're going to call them. It's like you have acceptable. Amazon, you have acceptable, good, very good, like new. The like new just means that it's not still in the wrapper, and it's a couple dollars cheaper. The very good just means that maybe there's one little imperfection on it, and then there's a big difference between good and very good. But all right, so here we go. This is the one I was talking about, that I picked up. And I don't know. I honestly don't know what this is. The book that was supposed to come, I don't know. I'll show you. It's a big box. This is the last one. I got some pops coming. I got some books coming. So we'll have something for next week. But maybe it's not what I think it is. I don't know. It is the book I thought. I just didn't really know it was. Holy shit, dude. Alright. Oh my god.
Oh my God! What's happening?
Hello? Hello? Alright. Whew. Award-winning Star Wars network. Remember that. Shit. I don't know what I'm going to do with this book. Because it's the Star Wars Archives. It's a pretty big book, dudes. It's a pretty thick book, man. If that's my hand, it's like half my hand. My hand takes up my face. That takes up like half my face. I don't even know how to show you guys what this book looks like. All right. This will go like this. I can't get it right. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So this is episode, this is the original trilogy, 77 to 83. They have them coming out that they're working on for the prequel trilogies that I already have pre-ordered. But I mean, yeah, so this, I enjoyed film school. I loved the best period of my life. Yeah, this really isn't working. Yeah, it turns it that way.
Whoa, what's going on, man?
But yeah, so here we go. We're doing some scripts right here. Looks like we got yeah, dude, this is like a history. Dude, I don't even fucking know, man. Like, I can't even show you guys what's going on right now in this world that we live in. Oh, why don't I take it off of there and put it onto here? Maybe that might help. Stupid me. No. Hi, everybody. I did something to it. That's a little bit better now. Whatever I did, I don't know what the hell I did. Yeah, so there you go. It shows how we have someone inside R2D2 doing their thing. Yeah, so this is literally like the entire story of Star Wars. The making of. It is Star Wars Archives. Patrick, man, you missed a good show today. And then this book, I don't even know what the hell I'm going to do with it. I mean, the pictures in here are awesome. I mean, I know you guys got a little glare, and I'm trying to work with what I got. Oh, and the Imperial Communique is here. Thanks for popping in. Thanks for stopping by. You know, I understand we got things we got to do. Yeah, so I mean, here's one for you. I mean, it's really like an archive of the whole freaking thing, like it says. I mean, this. Maybe we'll do this as a Patreon book. I'll go through this for the Patreons, for the patrons. I'm not even looking at you guys in the chat anymore right now. I'm just looking at this book because I'm like, dude, this shit's awesome. I'm just skipping ahead now. Oh, look at that picture right there. You can't see because of the glare. Man, I wish you guys could see this. Well, I guess you're going to have, if you know, whatever. Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, man. Going to the cave. Just skipping ahead here. So we got some Dagobah. We got.
Oh my God! Yoda ate somebody.
Oh, that's. Like it's showing you. Here's the script. Here's the script, and this is what happened. This is what happened on the script. You know, here's some art we got. Here's the script. Here's what happens. Hello. What do we have here? Big old Ewok thing going on here. Yeah, man. So this is really cool. Some more concept art. You know, it has. So here we go. The daily continuity report. What they're shooting with. Who's shooting. You actually have changes written in the script for it being shown here. Holiday special, Ewok Adventure, Droids cartoon. That picture there. Yeah, man. I mean, look at the size of this thing. It's bigger than my lap, and I'm a fat dude, so, like, it's almost the size of my arm. So, yeah, dude. This was a pretty good haul. A ton of books, and then this bad boy. They must have made it's just funny though. It's like Pauline, how we were just talking. You know, that dressing the galaxy, you know, like I said earlier, it's a $500 book used, $1,000 new, anywhere in between there, depending on, you know, what you get, because it's not like, you know, books are weird. They're not like regular action figures where it's like, okay, this is the price of an action figure, and then you pay that. You know, books, they range greatly. Like, you're not going to find, you know, normally a book that's $1,000. That's like, we'll call that a cardback. A cardback book for $1,000, or a cardback figure for $1,000, and the loose one is 500. But somebody puts the card back up for 250. You know, so you just wait for that. Like, that's what I do with the books. So, you know, your brand new books that are $1,000, you might find for 250. Someone just puts up there like, I want some quick money or whatever, which, you know, which action figures never do. But, you know, it's like, you know, this book used is $200. That's not what I paid for. I paid a lot less for it because, you know me, I'm a bargain shopper. Man, I can't even move this book right now. It's so heavy. Oh. Well, damn. Folks, this is a nice book. This is a good haul. This might be one of my favorite books so far. You know, the guys asked me, they said, what's your favorite book? And I said, you know, I don't really have a favorite book. Like, you know, you know, like I told you guys a story earlier about the two books. You know, it's more sentimental value in the fact that I talked to the authors for, you know, 20 minutes, a half hour. The people made the books, you know, 2 hours, whatever the fuck it ends up being and shit. And, you know, but like book wise, I think this might, like, without any sentiment or anything, this is, I think, my favorite book right here. This is what you fucking call a coffee table book, you sons of bitches. I still can't get over that there are fake Darth Maul. What do you mean there are fake Darth Maul? Pauline, I don't understand that statement. Maybe I missed something. I don't know. Or don't know. But yeah, man. So yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, so I gotta read the story in here. I gotta look some more at this book. I'm gonna let this book sit around for a little while. I know I told you guys I'm redoing my Patreon. I got my tiers done. I got 7 tiers. I got like 4 or 5, maybe 4 like normal tiers. And then like 1 or 2 really expensive tiers. And then 1 tier that's just like, if you are at this tier and it's 6 months, I'll take you to Disneyland or Disney World or whatever it is. You know, like one of those crazy tiers that they'll never hit. It's like, you know, there's got to be a reason people do it. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, man. I don't know. Usually I'm not like speechless, so I'll be like, oh, I'm tired or something like that. But I discussed it last week. Fake Darth Maul. I really don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I believe you that I talked about it. Oh, the Funko Pops. Is that what you're talking about? The Funko Pops? That people take like the Darth Maul sticker that you can go and buy Darth Maul for $6 and you put a sticker on it. It's worth $80 because it says from Celebration. Or the San Diego Comic-Con Sith Trooper. You got the San Diego Comic-Con sticker on there. It's $1,500, $1,200, $2,000, you know, whatever. Or just go buy a regular one for $12, $15. So people get the stickers made. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. I don't know, Pauline. Honestly, I talk a lot. I don't even know what I'm talking about half the time. You know, so yeah, man. But yeah, Pauline, when you're done with this, whether you do it tonight or tomorrow or you know whatever it is, you can take it. It's just a really there's fake everything. Okay, so what I was talking about with Jason Yakface last week. Yeah, like Darth Maul. I don't feel like going to get him right now. He's in there, and I don't even know if he's out faced. Or he could be back. Darth Maul Black Series. I think he's like $80. We'll just say he's $100. You get people that are making them, and you know counterfeit ones and passing them off as new ones. And you know, not even the Black Series, the vintage figures too. You know, the vintage figures are the big ones because your Black Series, you're not going to pay more than $100, $120 for a Black Series, unless you get like the San Diego Comic Con ones. Like some of the ones I have are like $250, $300 for those. You know, but those are only a couple of them. Your vintage figures, some of those, loose can be $3-4 grand, if not more. So people make those, fake. And I mean, like, I wouldn't be able to tell. I don't even want to spend a lot of money on a Funko Pop or a Black Series figure in case it's counterfeit, much less spend $3,000 on a vinyl Cape Jawa just to find out when I get it graded that it's a fake and it's only worth $50. But yeah, it's the way of the world. It's counterfeiting. If you can if you can make something make something that's worth $50 and turn around and sell it for $3,000 or $4,000, and I don't know what it looks like, that's where it's like you go to a reputable dealer or store or person and you pay more, or you get it already graded and you pay more, but it's real. A lot of them that are $100. I mean, you get screwed over on $100 one, and it's fake. It's only worth 20 or 30. It's not that bad. It's when you buy one that's a down payment on a car or a down payment on a house. Well, not a house, but that's more when you get into the card back. But that's the thing too. So like they call them card backs. Like when you buy the figure, you have the figure, it comes on a piece of cardboard, and then you have the bubble with the figure inside of it. People will take that card. So like, let's say the figure's worth $100 loose. It could be worth $1,000 with the card back, or some of them that are worth a couple $1,000s are worth $10,000 or $15,000 with the card back in the bubble. Well, if you are really good at what you're doing, you can take one of those figures and a bubble and a card back that are all loose and put them together, make them look brand new. Now instead of getting $1,000 for it, it's $12,000 or $4,000 or $8,000 or whatever. So it's like, when you get into the big high ones, it's like it's like anything, for real people stuff, go and look at counterfeit paintings and shit like that are worth millions and millions of dollars, and people spend however many months and years making a counterfeit painting to sell so that they can keep the real one and turn around and sell the other one. But or whatever it is, I don't know, man. But yeah, it's like, shit, if I could get some of those and they're just stickers. They're just plain old stickers. I mean, they don't look like this. This is the where's the camera roll there? You got a fuzzy hanging on there too. You got TooMedToo's Bacta tank sticker right here. They've been showing up all over New York City lately. Not all over. A couple subways they got pasted on. A couple subway stops. A couple stop signs on the back, not the front though. Some stickers be going around. I don't know. Somebody been putting them up. But all right, man. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So it's like, I hope all the ones I have are real. But even like when you get into just something that's not even fake. The Mandalorian. Amazon has a chrome Mandalorian. So instead of just being the plastic, the head's chrome. And that's really hard to get because every time it goes up, it's sold out immediately within a minute or two. Because it goes up and people just buy them because it's $10, $12, whatever it is, $15. You can sell it on eBay for $50 or $30 to make your money back. So you go ahead and you buy, they're $15. You go ahead and you buy 10 of them. It's $150, and you turn around and sell them for $30 each. You just made $100. You just doubled your profit, doing nothing, really. Well, there's another Mandalorian that's chrome, that the whole thing is chrome, and that's going for about $300 or $400. And the only difference with that is It's not Amazon. It's another company that had it beforehand. And you can't tell, and people are passing them off. There's no difference in the packaging. There's no difference in the way the pop looks inside the packaging. You can't tell until you take it out. And really the only way to tell is the number on the bottom of it is different. There's like a serial number on the bottom. And that's the only way you can really tell. People are selling the Amazon ones for the other edition one for $300, $400, $500 or whatever the hell it is. And you go and you buy it, you're like, yeah, I got this cool one. You look at it, if it's still in the package, oh yeah, it looks really cool. You can't tell the difference. The only way you can tell is if you take it out, which then makes it a lot less money if you do. So it's kind of like a catch-22. People are just out there scamming and doing their thing. That's why you got to be careful. And, yeah, man. I'm a bachelor too. I'm single now. So, at least till Wednesday. Danielle left yesterday. She goes to her friend's house for a couple during December, for a couple days around Christmas time. Goes down there for a day or two, 3 days, whatever. They're like, let's do Christmas in July. And I was like, see ya. I mean, what do I gotta do? I gotta go to the doctor and I gotta sit here and spend 5 hours making a fucking video that should take me 2 minutes. Well, I know I'm just bitching, dude. You guys know I love this shit, man. I wouldn't, I don't do it for the money.
Oh my God, people are beeping.
I mean, I wish I did it for the money. I wish I could retire and just sit here and talk Star Wars with you guys all the time. And be like, what do you want me to do? You want me to make a video on this? Okay. But yeah, dude, I like hanging out with you guys. I like hanging out and chilling, talking to Sal, talking to you guys, opening up shit. I just went to go put that book down, and it's like, I don't know what the hell you call it. So the book feels like really, really fine sandpaper. Whatever the material is. So it's not like, and then like the Star Wars Archives is embossed. I don't know if it is embossed, it's indented, whatever the hell you want to call it. So I just went to go put it on the chair, and because like the sandpaper just went and just squeak and stopped. But yeah, man. Unless anybody's got anything they want to talk about right now, I think that's it. Any more questions? Anything else? Oh, I got a little bit of garbage. You know what? It's like, well, sorry, but did I scare you? I'm sorry. I don't even need to clean up tonight. That's why it was funny. I opened up the Baby Yoda last week, and depending on the night, whatever it is, it's like I'll clean up like the boxes and the bags, but like the books, I might just have them sitting on the table or something like that. It's just like I'll get them in the morning, whatever, and I usually hear about it. And then, I woke up Tuesday last week. She left for work, and I came out, and there was Baby Yoda tilted on the table with the award on top of it. The award turned on glowing. Hell yeah. All right. Pauline, thanks for stopping by, and thanks for hanging out this whole time. And yeah, check out that book collection. It's only a 4-minute video. Like it really is just me could be like, here's a book, everywhere, book. Old Michael had a book. E-I-E-I-O. All right, I'm going now because I'm just fucking don't even know. All right, everybody, thank you very much for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. I had a great time. With that, I say good day. May the Force be with you always. And normally, boom, we're done. Nope, we're slow. Still waiting for it to go. Still waiting. I could probably talk and sing about some other stuff too, but yeah.